following him is not just a matter of being a member of the crowd. It's not a spectator sport. We're told great crowds were traveling with Jesus, and then he turned to them and he addressed them. And he says, "If anyone comes to me without hating his father and mother, wife and children, brother and sister, and even his own life, he cannot be my disciple." Jesus intends us not to just be followers. He wants us to be disciples. Disciples, what the bishop has been talking about. And in the gospel today, Jesus is showing us that to be a disciple, one has to be in relationship with him. One has to love him and be committed to him in a very deep, personal, and intimate way. The word hating that he says in this gospel, Jesus is not literally saying we should hate our mother, our father, our brother, and sister. After all, Jesus himself tells us, love your enemies. If we're to love our enemies and those who hate us, what more your mother, father, brother, sister? In the Decalogue, the 10 Commandments, he tells us to love and honor our parents. And then ultimately, he tells us to love one another as he has loved us. So clearly, what he's doing here is he's not telling us to literally hate our mother, father, brother, and sister, just so we're clear. What he's using here is a Jewish idiom that basically uses hyperbole. Hyperbole to emphasize preference. We see it in other parts of the Bible. For example, in the book of Genesis, we hear the fact that Leah was hated by Jacob, and what that's really trying to say is Leah, the wife of Jacob, was loved less than, because he had two wives. Jacob loved his other wife, Rachel, more than Leah. It's a Jewish idiom that emphasizes preference. And so what this gospel is really telling us is, you and I must be committed to Jesus, love Jesus, serve Jesus, love him even more than we do our mother, father, brother, sister, children, parents. And when we do that, something interesting happens. That love, that relationship, that intimacy that we have with Jesus actually orders our other loves so that our loves actually fall into their proper place. And what we find out is we don't love our mother, father, brother, sister, husband, wife, parents less. We actually love them more. We don't love ourselves less. We actually love them more, but it's in its proper place. Our relationship with Jesus, our commitment to Jesus, educates and informs all our other loves, because we actually are disciples. We learn what it even means to love by loving Christ, because we experience him loving us in a self-sacrificial way, and we learn from there how to love our neighbor, how to love our parents, whoever else, in a self-sacrificial way, so it actually informs and educates us, our other loves. And so I think today that's the call of the gospel today. Don't just be followers. Don't just be spectators looking in. Be disciples. And disciples are in relationship with Jesus, love him and commit him over and above everything else. Now, as we saw in the video, it's fitting that this gospel falls on this day when we launch officially the capital campaign that Bishop called on for the Diocese of Phoenix and for our own parish, the Together Let Us Go Forth campaign. And I personally am very passionate about this campaign, because it's about those two things that Bishop mentioned and the things that we just heard in the gospel today. It's really about discipleship and evangelization. That's what this campaign is really about, discipleship and evangelization. We have people in our diocese who have been sitting down and being on their knees praying, looking at the landscape of our culture and our world, and they're looking out there and they're saying, given the nature of things in our society, in our culture, in our diocese here, what can we do? What are we doing? How can we serve our people better in forming true disciples and evangelizing this culture that we see in our world today? What can we concretely do in order to truly form disciples, intentional disciples who know how to love, follow Jesus, who are called out there to be missionary disciples who will go out there and make a better world? And what are we doing to help to evangelize our society? This is particularly urgent when we look at our landscape and we realize and recognize that the fastest growing group in our society to do it today are nuns. And by nuns, I don't mean nuns, nuns. I mean NONESs, nuns, people who don't believe in God, or ex-Catholics, ex-Christians, and many of them are coming from our Catholic ranks. And we're looking at this and saying, we have to do something about this. We have to either form better disciples, because how is it that if you're properly formed and you know this is truly Jesus, if you've had him in your heart, if you've seen him at work in your life, how can you walk away from that? So what are we doing to form better disciples? And these people who are praying, including our leadership of our diocese, came up with this Together Let Us Go Forth campaign. There's definitely things we need to do to establish structures, institutions, buildings, things, places where we can form disciples, and institution structures that can help to evangelize. So let me give you a few examples of what some of those things are. If you think about it, one of the things that this campaign is going to basically take care of is, if we're interested or truly serious about discipleship, one of the tools that is at our disposal in forming disciples is and has always been Catholic education. We are experts at education. We invented education as we know it in the West, right? And yet, when we look at our territory of the Diocese of Phoenix, we learn, and I can tell you the statistics right now, the fastest growing city in the United States for 2019. Does anybody know what that was, 2019? Buckeye, Arizona, believe it or not. Buckeye, Arizona, the fastest growing city in the United States by percentage. The second fastest growing city in the United States by percentage, Phoenix, Arizona. And then we look at our diocese, all these are our pastoral responsibility. There is not one Catholic high school west of 35th Avenue. Not one Catholic high school. Well, now there is, thanks be to God. And we've got this huge, burgeoning, growing culture. And yet we're not providing an opportunity to form disciples with one of the best tools that we have. And that is why part of this campaign is to pay for the John Paul II Catholic High School in Avondale to provide an opportunity for Catholic education for those people on the west side, because that whole area, there's nothing out there. And here's the thing. The amazing thing is we have an opportunity to get it done right. We're not having to clean up Catholic institutions like a high school that have gone rogue. We've been seeing that in the news, right? We've seen situations in Indiana and other places where some of the Catholic education institutions have lost a sense of their mission. They think they're just prep schools. That's not what it is. We are centers to form disciples who know Jesus. And we give them an education, yes, but we give it always with that sense of mission. We need better doctors. We need holy doctors. We need holy lawyers. God knows we need holy politicians. We need holy salesmen. We need holy janitors. We need holy, you name the occupation in this day and age, we need holy, name whatever it is for us, for the betterment of society. And that's what one of these things is. And the good news is we've already started this JP2 high school. It's sort of going, because this campaign, we're in the last block. The campaign has been going on for a while, but we're being asked to play our part. And I can tell you, even from our own parish, one of our own parishioners, a young lady who came through CGS, the Catechism of the Good Shepherd. She went through our Life Team program, formed to be a missionary disciple, went off to college, graduated from college, and guess what? She's there teaching science at that Catholic high school on the west side. She actually kind of commutes all the way from here to like 100 and something Avenue. She's a parishioner here, missionary disciple. That's what it's all about. Let me give you another project that we have. Seminary formation. Bishop was just mentioning. St. Timothy's has always been overrepresented even now amongst the presbyterate. By presbyterate, I mean amongst the priests of the diocese. Because this parish, because it's a life, spirit-filled community where people truly believe, has always been a vocation maker. Like, people have always been called to the priesthood. I can think of people like Father Frankie Cicero, Father Tim Seavey, Father John, our own pastor. He's actually a former parishioner here, Father Eugene. And right now we actually have 3 men in the seminary from this parish. And the amazing thing is, because of your prayers and your own example, the Lord has been answering our prayers for vocation, because for the first time we have an increase in vocations to the point where the bishop has decided to open our own seminary right here in our own diocese. And we have just started right here in the fall, the Nazareth House of Formation, which is actually on the property of St. Gregory's on the west side. But for that kind of thing to continue to happen, we need the physical money. And think about it. especially in light of what we saw this last year with the priest scandals, the nonsense that we had to deal with, and the horror of recognizing how bad some leaders were. Part of the factor that factors into why many of these priests were so rotten was poor seminary formation, bad formation. And it seems to me the Lord is responding and saying, you got a problem with that? I'm going to give you an opportunity. Do it right. Just do it right. And it seems to me the Lord is responding, and we have this opportunity to actually just get it done right. And I can tell you the people who are committed to this thing, the people who are involved in our little program here, just people who are 100% committed in getting it done right and in allowing us to have men and women, men who are well-formed who will serve us in our parishes as priests. So that's one of the areas where this campaign is going to go at a diocesan level. A third thing, which I'll mention at a diocesan level where this campaign money goes, is university ministries, Newman centers. Think about it. The university campus is front line in the culture war. What happens on the university campus is happening in Congress in 2 or 3 years, for better or for worse. And we need not just a Catholic presence, we need a solid Catholic presence on our university campuses. And we all know when many of our young people go to college, they lose their faith. And then how are we responding to that? If we're truly serious about discipleship and evangelization, we need to be putting a lot more intentional effort in our Newman Center ministries. And thanks be to God, that's what this campaign is about. We have 3 big universities in our own diocese: ASU, one of the biggest in the country, NAU, Northern Arizona University in Flag, and then, of course, Grand Canyon University. And there's all kinds of possibilities in terms of not only ministry and campus, but collaborations that can take place between the university and Catholic ministries, maybe even housing, things like that, addressing some of the problems we see with the cesspool of co-ed living. There's all kinds. I'm not going to quote anything. I'm just thinking off the top of my head. This is not official in any way. But I'm just thinking there are all kinds of possibilities of what we can do to really intentionally address some real issues that we see with our Catholic young men and women who want to go to college, but we want to preserve their faith and allow them to live and be formed as true disciples who are well-formed and who will go and make a positive impact in our community. So that's diocesan level. There's also the component of right here. As Bishop was saying, 35% of that campaign goes back to the parish. And our goal here at St. Timothy's was the diocese has said we should raise $3.3 million. That's our goal. So for every dollar that comes in already right away, 35% comes here at the parish. And as you remember, over the last couple of months, we did a planning survey. We were asking questions about what people desire as one of the biggest priorities. And as we heard in the video from Father John, one of the things we're seeing is if we're going to be a community that provides for our next generation, and even for all of you, one of the issues that we see is many of us are getting advanced in age, even the people who were here from the very beginning, and we're beginning to have mobility issues. And look at the building, love it or hate it, there's mobility issues with this building with the stairs. And so one of the solutions that was proposed is building an elevator, and that's one of these intended goals of this campaign, so we can build a set of elevators. It'll be kind of on that side. We can even see the fake doors that we put on there. If you look on the left-hand side, both up and downstairs, there will be an extra building that will be built, and the good news is we don't have to disturb the masses if we're going to do that. The other issue is restrooms that are upstairs. There's no restrooms on the whole top floor. Anybody who has mobility issues who comes to Mass precisely on the upstairs because they don't want to go deal with anything downstairs, they are forced to either go downstairs, or the only other option is to go to the chapel, which is, if you've been in the chapel before, it's kind of weird. You're sitting in there adoring, somebody goes in there, boom, and you're like, okay. So, but these are real issues, real issues. So that's what this campaign is about, like practical, real things. We're trying to raise money for like practical things that you can clearly see. And as Father was saying, safety things, maybe even having some kind of vestibule. Our school, at the Catholic school, our kids don't even eat, inside. They have not been eating outside. Some of the classes have not been eating outside because it's been so hot. We've been having these excessive heat warnings. And so some of our kids have been doing recess in classrooms because there's no place except outside where they can eat, of which if they go outside when it's above 110, I guess they have like a thing where they really shouldn't. So we're looking to build some kind of multi-purpose center at the school to help our kids to actually have recess in a place where they can sit in air conditioning. So practical needs both at St. Timothy's and within the diocese. That's what this campaign is, so that we can form disciples who are basically sent out to go and evangelize. And so, as I said, our goal is $3.3 million that the bishop has given us. 35% of every dollar starting right away is going to be coming back to St. Timothy's. Anything over that 33.3 million goal stays with the parish. So that's the nice thing about this. And here's the thing. What's going to happen is each and every family, as Bishop said, he wants everybody to participate. And it's a sacrificial gift. I can tell you, I'm already participating. I was at another parish before I came here, and we were in the block prior to this block. So I was also asked by the bishop, this is what I want you to give, and I've already been participating in this campaign. So everybody, even Father John, everybody is involved in this. You're going to get a letter from Father John, basically based on your giving history and all that, basically asking you to consider this gift. And as Father John was saying, sometimes we hit the bullseye on the mark, sometimes we undershoot, sometimes we overshoot. And so when you get the letter, don't be shocked or surprised or get upset. We don't know what's going on personally in your life, but really seriously consider praying and making that pledge. And as I said, this is something that goes over 5 years. You're not being asked to give this entire sum right now. It's a sacrificial gift, and it's over and above your normal plate collection. Don't rob from Peter to pay Paul. That's counterproductive. Keep your plate collection what it is. This is over and above that, where it's a sacrificial gift that we're all being asked to participate in, to give, so that we can really set ourselves up not only at St. Timothy's, but in our diocese, set it up for our future generations to provide a place where we can have encounter with the living God in Jesus Christ, form disciples, and go out there and evangelize this crazy culture. I truly am fired up about this, and I'm going long, I know, but hey, it's special, all right? I truly am fired up about this because I think it's providential that the Lord would put upon the hearts of our diocese to do this now, in this place, at this time. I think there's something there that the Holy Spirit wants us to do. And I think we're set up, it's almost like a baseball shot. The ball is coming at you, and it's the perfect shot. And we have the option of just swinging for it, or we have an option to just be timid and just, hesitate. I feel like we should just have faith and just go for it, swing it. Let's hit it out of the park, and let's see what the Holy Spirit, what the Lord is going to do with what he has asked us to do. So I encourage you, be disciples, not just followers. Allow Jesus to love you as you love him, and please participate in this campaign. I can tell you already, out of the $3.3 million, just so you know, we've already raised $1.3 million here at St. Timothy's. But we need everybody involved, so please, let's do this. Let's do this. Praise be Jesus Christ.